A few months ago, I made a video called Why I Went Back to Console Gaming. And in that video, among other things, my main takeaway was that I was just so fed up of Windows 11. So I switched over to Mac, and I primarily play video games on console now. I mean, that's always been the case, but there were a few years where PC was like my primary choice. One of the other things that I mentioned in that video, Windows 11 aside, was that I really prefer to play games sat at my couch rather than sitting up at my desk, because I feel like I should be more productive when I'm sat on my desk. So now that I switched over to Mac, my old PC that I spent a lot of money on was kind of just collecting dust. I wasn't using it. And I sort of got the idea in my head, why don't I turn it into a games console? So I tried it on Windows 11, and I disabled like needing to put my username and password in, and I had it so that it would instantly launch into like big picture mode. But the problem with that is that you still have Windows 11, right? It's still forcing updates at you all the time. You need to have a keyboard and mouse connected because there's so many like different issues. It just doesn't work. So then I thought, well, I know that you can install Linux and use, like Bazzite or Chimera OS. The problem with that is that you need an AMD card in order to sort of take full advantage of it. But then I came across one called Nobara OS, which seemed to just work out the box with an NVIDIA card. And I had an RTX 3060 in my PC at the time. So I thought, okay, well, let's just install Nobara and see how it works. And honestly, it didn't work great. It was still not great. Like, game mode just crashed constantly. Whenever I like put up the Steam overlay, it crashed. And so it's obviously like buggy with NVIDIA cards, even though you can do it. And I really wanted to install Bazzite, and I know that Bazzite works with NVIDIA cards again, but on my NVIDIA card, I had so many issues. I kept trying to download like drivers to maybe fix the issue where game mode kept crashing. So I installed the drivers using the driver manager and bricked my graphics card basically. Like every time I tried to boot up, it wouldn't boot into the UI because for some reason the graphics card drivers just weren't compatible with my 3060. So I had to like reinstall, and then I tried a different driver, and then I did the same thing. So I had to like pull up the like Linux terminal. Using a couple of tutorials online, I really stupidly just nuked my NVIDIA drivers. I like put like sudo inf delete NVIDIA in like stars, and that just completely nuked my drivers. And then I spent hours trying to figure out how to reinstall NVIDIA drivers so I could like boot into Nobara, but it was running at like 1 FPS because my CPU, which is a i5-12400F, does not have integrated graphics. So I spent hours trying to do that, and then I just was like, right, I'll reinstall for a third time. And eventually I sort of settled on launching into desktop mode and then launching big picture mode. But much like Windows, I still had to use a keyboard and mouse because every time I connected my controller, an icon came up that said like permission to use controller or to use input. So I had to like confirm it with my mouse. It was just a headache. It's not what I wanted. I sort of had the idea, well, why don't I just go out and buy an AMD card and then install Bazzite on my PC? Because my thought process was I would rather spend a bit more money on my PC and actually use it rather than it just collect dust or me sell it for like a major loss, because it's like a pre-built. So, and I've never built a PC. I've never even like changed components really. The most I've done is like swapping out the SSD on my Steam Deck. Like that's about as far as I've gone as far as like, changing components of a PC, because I don't trust myself, which is again why I bought a pre-built. And by the way, this isn't going to be like a tutorial on how to install Bazzite or anything. There are dozens and dozens of tutorials on YouTube already about that. That's not what this is. That's not what this video is. I just want to sort of talk through my experience. So I went out and I bought this. It's the RX 7600. And compared to my 3060, it's not really like an upgrade. Again, I didn't buy it to have a huge upgrade. And I know that this isn't exactly the best value card on the market, but with my PC, it currently only has a 500 watt power supply. So I sort of needed to be selective with what I bought. I couldn't go out and buy like a high-end graphics card. I couldn't afford that anyway. So I settled on the RX 7600, and it is still a little bit faster than the 3060. I think it's like around 20% faster. So it's somewhat of an upgrade, but again, that's not why I bought it. So I installed it, and like straight out of the gate on Nobara, everything just worked fine. But yeah, I really wanted to use Bazzite, so I installed Bazzite, flashed it. Everything worked completely flawlessly. It was literally perfect. It was everything that I wanted. It basically just worked. I do not need to use a keyboard and mouse, like at all. Even if I boot Bazzite into desktop mode, I can just use it with a controller by using like the Steam input. I never have to plug a keyboard and mouse in. It works if I shut my PC down on sleep mode and then like boot it back up, it works fine. There's no display issues. I did have an issue where I had to go into the developer options and enable like composite mode or whatever. I'm not really sure why or what that does, but basically beforehand there was some pretty bad sort of color banding on Red Dead Redemption 2, but I enabled composite mode and it looks phenomenal now. And another great thing is that I can literally just plug my PC straight into my graphics card and then record footage on my Mac, which is what I do. For example, any kind of footage that I have, I just plug, say, my PS5 or my Xbox into my graphics card and then record via OBS through my Mac, right? But I can literally, I've got basically like a dual PC setup now. I can just plug my PC in to the graphics card and then record it straight out of my Mac. No fussing. It just works, dude. And I'm really impressed with the performance as well. Like I said a minute ago, I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which on PS5, that game is not great. It's not a great experience. I mean, it's Red Dead 2, so obviously it's a great experience. But on the technical side, it uses like checkerboarding to get up to 4K. So it's actually like 1920 by 2160, and it looks really weird. It doesn't look like 1080p, but it doesn't look anywhere close to 4K. It just looks very blurry, and obviously it's locked to 30 FPS. I don't know what Rockstar's doing by not releasing like a next gen update. On my PC, I'm able to do 1440p native, constantly above 60 FPS, high settings, and it looks phenomenal. It looks super sharp. Yeah, it's just like a significantly better experience than on console. And basically my use case for my PC is that I just want to play games basically that aren't on PS5, or that if they are on PS5, say they use like PS4 backwards compatibility and they're just locked to like 1080p 30, For me, that's just not enough anymore. 30 FPS on an OLED screen is really jittery. It's not a pleasant experience. 30 FPS just isn't an option for me anymore. I can do 40. Like I played AC Shadows at 40 FPS and that was a great experience. But yeah, 30 FPS just doesn't cut it for me anymore. And there's a ton of games from the PS4 or even the PS3 era that I really want to replay. Like I really want to replay the Batman games. I really want to replay the Shadow of Mordor games. There's just tons of games that I want to go back into, but on the PS4, again, they're locked to like 1080p 30, so it's not a great experience. So for older games like that, that's what my PC is for. And again, that's why I didn't go for a more higher end graphics card. Anything new that comes out, I will be playing on my PS5 Pro, like I spent a lot of money on that. And if it's Pro enhanced, if it's a great experience on the Pro, then I'll play it on that because it is more powerful than my PC. But my PC is going to be great for some of those older titles that I can just play now with, no hassle. I've basically created like a home console Steam Deck, and it's just flawless. It's such a great experience. So I would say to anyone that is maybe like fed up with Windows, look at Linux, because it's not that difficult. I mean, obviously I had issues on like Nobara, but I don't think that's a problem with the operating system. I think that was literally a problem with the fact that I was using an NVIDIA card and sort of trying to do things that just wouldn't work. So obviously, like, look into it. Look into whether or not your PC would be good with Linux. If you simply want to play games on a desktop setting, it's great. It will work great. The NVIDIA cards will work pretty much fantastically. But for my use case, where I wanted like a home console experience, I needed to go out and change to like an AMD card. And if you do have an AMD card, you're going to get like a flawless experience. And I actually just highly recommend switching to Linux because it's so much smoother. It's so much more lightweight. And obviously, everyone talks about the customization. I haven't really delved into that side of things. I'm still like a complete beginner when it comes to Linux, but so far it's such a vastly superior experience to Windows 11. I'm super happy with what I've managed to do with my old PC. And yeah, that's basically it. I just wanted to come on it and, talk about my experience because I highly recommend it to anyone who maybe is, again, who's fed up with Windows 11. So yeah, that's basically going to do it for today, and I'll see you in the next one.